I think happiness is a very interesting topic that is obsessively talked about today. We have a swarm of voices and podcasts and stuff out there that is all about why we are not happy and how do we get ourselves happier. As if to suggest that we are just so unhappy. Who but a person that needs to be happy or trying to be happy is someone who is not happy. And so, what is happiness? I can speak from my experience. I've had a lot of people over a long time. I've lived over half a century and having coached probably over 50,000 sessions at this point. I mean, it's way up there. This is not a direct topic that I work with leaders on, but it is in the background, and of recent it's come up more often. Is happiness a choice? This is asked a lot. Is happiness a choice? I'm not going to claim I have answers, but from the experience I have through others and have glimpsed people who claim to be happy, what I can understand is something that I'd like to impart to you, and that is that you perhaps choose to be happy with whatever result or consequence you have. Choose to be happy would suggest that you can learn, gain from whatever you're given. Gain. Does it mean that I have to assume everything is just made great and it's served up as a great appetizer and it's going to be great and all that? No. Because we know life is messy therapy. It comes in all sizes. There are good days and bad days, probably more bad days than good days. Tell a mother who's raising a child to have a positive attitude. Just wait what you hear. I mean, tell someone to have a positive attitude about building a career. They go through ups and downs. There's lots of hardships and difficulties. So it's not about the attitude. It's not about the positivity of everything is just great, everything's rosy and all that. I think there's a misrepresentation to all that that brings us less happy because we're constantly striving as a result of being unhappy or discontent to act in a way, in a phony way of being content. And that's just not it. Happiness is so simple, it's hard. We miss it. It seems to be unintegrated, and yet we bring it to the forefront the more that we hold an attention directly to the world. What does it mean to have your attention directly to the world? Well, I'll tell you what's missing is if your attention is direct to the world, then you are directly in contact with an experience that is not filtered by thought. Thought is what we previously hold to be true, what we expect to know about what something is, based on the past exposure from our experience. Thinking is the process of creating thought. So as we think, which is a moment-to-moment activity, we make conclusions based on what we see, on our inferences and observable moments, our observable data, that cause us to make conclusions about what the world is, who we are, what other people are doing, what we think their intentions are. We give ourselves all sorts of answers about things we see, and then we assign a category or label to it, and then that manufactures thought. And oftentimes, most often, we are in a constant deception about what is truly going on and what we project to be true. So might we say that the unintegrated happiness is somewhere between thought and thinking, and that as we learn to meet reality in a direct way, we take the world in a way that's natural, in a way that meets it without that filter. Because when we assign meanings and interpretations to what should have been, what we expect things to be, real easily we start to feel frustration, anger, I need it to be different, I'm trying to control reality rather than meet reality. And it's not easy to do. When we meet reality, realities can be very difficult, very harsh, very foul-smelling. Negativity is very difficult. One might ask, well, how do I get happy with negative experiences? Things that happen. People die, people get sick, things don't work. We fail forward on things. They don't go as expected. How do we process these experiences? Is it about being happy? Well, maybe it's really the being. It isn't about happy, but maybe it's about showing up and just being with the present moment. So we might say, in order for this to happen, we have 4 distractions that tend to surface in our thoughts that lead to the potential for this blockage to be happy. Well, one thought is we're so controlling about the future. We have to have the future come out a certain way. And because we have these rules about the future and the way we need the future, the way the future is supposed to be, the way the future has to be, we have these rules. When it doesn't happen, then things go off course. And we get into a state of emotions that we start to push against life. And we say, no, it shouldn't be broken. No, it shouldn't be this way. No, it should be different. Instead, how about making a fundamental choice to learn reality as you go? How about making a fundamental choice to be true? How about accepting the highs and the lows as the messy therapy of life? And how about letting your hands off of letting life be life, not reducing the moment to something that needs to be different? I'm not saying being a phony holy and faking your satisfaction. You will be unsatisfied. But the question is, can you move through those ebbs and flows by staying present to those movements? Nothing is permanent. And so things will come like the weather. It's like bad turbulence on an airplane. When negative circumstances come, they rise, they follow. Now, what I also can tell you is that these thoughts that come and go, that create emotions, these negative emotions that cause our happiness to not be present, they only last 17 seconds. So what the heck is going on here when we carry over these emotional states for long periods of time? We get into habituated ways of thinking. We get into our voice of judgment. Our judgment about what we think something should be, our judgment of others, our judgment of ourselves. So we go back to the past and we say, I need to present myself an alternative from that. I've got to get rid of this past. The past is like an omen. It's hanging over me. I need to remove the unwanted circumstances that I never again will have. I have these avoidance strategies and therefore I must control. And I'm going to control and I'm going to grip life for all I can, and I need this and I need that and I need it to be this way and I need it to be that way and I need this person to be this way and all that. And all the while as we're walking through, we're kind of going into this labyrinth and nobody around us really has any idea what the heck we're saying to ourselves. We're walking down the street and this big thought bubble is above our head that says, this is who I am, this is how it is, this is how others are. And then there's another person walking down the street. They have this thought bubble in their head. This is how I am. This is how it is. This is how others are. And they pass by each other. And isn't that interesting that all those different concepts and things are then loaded up and everything that makes sense is filtered through those concepts. And nobody knows they have one in this scenario. I don't even know I have a thought bubble, but I believe everything I believe and that I'm taking it to be true. And that I think the truth is obvious, and therefore I trust the model that I have, that which I am reacting to, or I'm responding. I'm living alone in my own mind. Are we all living alone in our own minds? Are we just shadowboxing by projecting things on the wall, like Plato's allegory? Do we spend 90% of our time just trusting the automatic judgments that just formulate what seems to make sense? Does 90% of our decisions, does it become based on conjecture rather than accurate thinking? Because accurate thinking, if we meet life, then we don't need to struggle to be happy because we can't impose a phony happiness on situations that are not designed to produce happiness. Happiness is the choice to live with and near the present just as it is. But it's not always going to motivate you. It's not going to give you mojo. It's not going to feel good. It's not going to make you feel like you're on top. It's not going to be coming into your well-being. All that. There's moments. Yes, there's moments. And we probably appreciate those moments better when they go our way and moments when they don't. We need to work through those tough moments with tolerance and being soberingly real and reporting those truths to ourselves. So can I live with what's happening? It's like this. Can I walk outside and enter a moment, take the world in that is encountering me, in a way that sees what is going on for the sake of seeing what is going on? Can I deliver to myself a better understanding of reality? Can I? Can you position yourself to directly perceive and meet life more on its terms? What terms are you on with life? It doesn't owe you something. You're not entitled. You can think you are. But again, that's the means to you coming into a very, very different state, a different mood. A mood that is not of the mood we're talking about. I don't believe the mood we're talking about is this sense of having Jubilee and everything's wonderful and Shangri-La, and you'd be on drugs. You'd be living outside your body if that was the case. Look, you're going to observe things. You're going to absorb a few things. You did when you grew up. We all had experiences. We concluded things about those experiences. Those conclusions still today shape, they coordinate the way we decide, the way we act, the way we coordinate communications, what we say, what we don't say, what we assume to be true, how we present data to ourselves in the moment. But that can't be our only compass. If we're discussing happiness and opening up a quality of ourselves that is shapeable, adaptable, that is of a higher quality of expression, how do we get to it? Because I think we're talking about an access point to something unintegrated that is always there. It's behind the behind. The rapture is there. That place, that deep well is there. But it's not always out front. It's not always out in the front of the theater. It's not front stage playing out. It's tucked away. It's unintegrated. It doesn't show up for the party. So our role is to escort that. How do we do it? We start by unplugging certain things. Unplugging this automatic mind stuff. Being aware of our own mental models. Becoming very introspective and gently aware of what we think. Are we thinking or are we manufacturing what we think from thought? Is it thought-based? Is it thinking-based? If it's thinking-based, it's reality-based. It's non-reduced awareness of what is going on. And can we accept things as they are? So the first day is acceptance. Can we accept things as they are or fight reality and push against it? That's a choice. That is a choice. You chose to show up right here and show up to reality just as it is. Why? Because there may be something to gain, learn, there may be something to see, something to open. Reality presents itself, and as it does, it helps you when you linger longer and listen deeper, when you stay more present to it, you may see originality in that experience. So it may not mean new things, but it may mean seeing new things in the ordinary because you looked again. Notice when you notice something and looking longer, you encounter it in a more peripheral vision. You begin to see it from different vantage points. Your comprehension goes up. So can we activate this unintegrated presence by learning to see? And of course, by learning to see, we have something else that happens. When we see, we can occupy a feeling. By seeing, we feel what we see. So feeling what we see means unblocking reception. What are we unblocking? Our hearts. We're unblocking the armor of our hearts. Our vulnerability is our natural state. Stripping away that defending energy of our heart. We don't want to be hurt. We don't want to put ourselves into vulnerability. We don't want to have someone take advantage of us. We're suspicious of the other. Do they have worthy caregiving? Are they someone of trust? Will I lean on the other and practically trust them? Do I think they have my well-being in mind? In the Marine Corps, they say that trust is greater than competence. If I'm going out into battle with you, I'm not picking you because you shoot the gun the best. I'm picking you because you have my well-being at heart. I know you do, so I will go with you. This kind of trust, this practical trust, this reliability is at the forefront of opening our hearts to understanding and letting the other appear. But when we're suspicious because those thoughts have told us back up, the voice of cynicism tells us back off, disconnect, don't love too much, don't fall in, right? We told that to ourselves because we needed to be our own protection, be our own bouncer. Don't get too close to her, don't get too close to him. Be careful, shield it, look better than you are, be a person that deserves praise, acceptance, be a person that's hard to reject because it hurts. So we've tried to hide our pain and bury our pain in that we have these ways of letting ourselves regulate how much of our heart is moved and changed, is touched by the world. But there are moments when you see a film or you see a moment where you do not have vulnerability, but yet you're so moved and touched, inspired by a story and the enchantment of that story, or a real life anecdote of victory that someone has, or seeing someone make a difference, or real service, or invisible acts of kindness. We're touched. Our own lives are touched by making a difference. I remember a great instant when I experienced a leader client who was on the way to a meeting, and he went by a woman who had her son with her on the freeway. And he went on for a mile or two, and then something in him just said, I know I need to help this person. So he got off the off-ramp, he got on, he went back, and he helped this person. And he was so touched and moved by the way she was touched and moved by the voluntary energy he had just to serve her and to have a mercy for her. She really needed help. She was terrified. She didn't know how to change the tire, couldn't fix the car. She didn't know who to call, she had no means. And he did all the assistance that he could, and he did it for the sake of just generosity itself. He said it was one of the most filling moments to have a moment that moved through him, that was larger than himself, that was capacitated. He said it was one of the greatest moments of happiness to serve her, to be in the presence of someone standing in need and feeding that thirsty mouth. When we make a difference and we open our hearts just for the sake of it, it's like opening our wings. We can't retract them because we have moments of invitation. I remember driving by this one church cathedral where I saw a homeless person sitting out there, and I just decided to buy some food and just put it next to them. They wouldn't flinch. They wouldn't eat it. So I came back after several hours, and the food was devoured. They got through it. I decided to do that because I needed to do it. It wasn't a place to prove anything. It was a place to give just for the sake of giving. And I've had many instances like that. We all have those moments, those gifts of opportunity to be able to respond in undeserved mercies or in mercies where we give other people what they need. Not with our judgment, not because we judge them or say, I'll do it just this one time. No, we do it because we know we need to. And those are moments. They're like little brown paper bags that have these little gems in them, these opportunities that we open up. And we give ourselves to those opportunities with compassion because we experience what's in our nature. When we're touched and moved, something in our nature surfaces. Because our nature is kind, it is generous, it is compassionate, it has equanimity. But how do we tap into that nature? What we have to do on the surface is unblock that cynicism. And that's something that we can do. We can actively escort that and usher that to the bleachers. Have them sit this one out. Let that go. Maybe that's the shame that we feel, that we're not worthy. We're not worthy of love, or that we don't think we're adequate. We're not worthy of love. Or maybe it was we were raised in a way where mom and dad said, you need to be this way and I'll love you. And we concluded, well, I can't be this way. I can't be authentic. So I'll do it your way. And we were hijacked. We decided we would go to where we needed to belong to hijack ourselves. We hijacked that place because we so wanted to belong. It was part of our survival mechanism. Or we construed a violent person, a domestically violent parent or domestically violent hurtful lover who hits us, who hurts us, codependently because we fear isolation. We didn't set boundaries. And the familiar said, this is all there is. I will paint a deceptive picture of this person. I will tell myself this person is a good person, even though this is what they do. Why? Because I need to survive. When I'm little, I need to feel that kind of love. So I will construe it as normal. But we don't have to live with this. This isn't something that we need to take our core material with us and be with it always. We're not stuck to this. It's something that our awareness and our space making, our befriending, our attending can see. And yet we're not reduced to this pain avoidance. We're not reduced to this pain body being the dominant motivation and the activator in how we present ourselves in the circumstances in which we find ourselves. How we're taking the world in is very much to do with how we activate this unintegrated happiness that's behind the behind the behind. It's there. How do we tap it? Well, our fear is probably one of the greatest blockers. Fear is that danger that we see around the corner. Fear is our predictions that something will not go the way that it could, but yet we think it will go this way. So therefore, we should put the brakes on. Therefore, I should do this. If then, therefore, I should. And that fear shrinks us. It shrinks our greatness back. It shrinks us into a small sense of ourself. And so what if we could let that go? Let be. What if we could let come, and what if we could let in? Choose it. Learn that as a process of letting go. What is letting go? The fear isn't interested in you. You're interested in it. We're feeding the fear. What we pay attention to expands. Energy follows attention. So it's not that you become fearless by letting that fear, curing that fear, reprogramming that fear. It's learning to be afraid. The fear is very noble. It's there to protect you. It has a very noble purpose. It's there to assist you. It's the other side of the coin of love. We just don't see it that way because we give it a bad name and we restrict it and reduce it to something that shouldn't be here, and we tell it to go away and fight off the monster. And then in that sense, we make it solid because all those energies that we attempt to run from it are actually what make it more consuming in a way that chokes and causes apathy. But the alternative would be playful, act in an instant, open to the outcome, not attached to the outcome. The warrior of the human spirit surfaces. But we're always there. It's just not driving the car. So is it suddenly walking out and being bold tomorrow and stomping around with your willpower and being larger than life and having grandiosity? No. Who but a person that needs to do that is someone that's the Wizard of Oz behind the curtain that is inadequate. It's okay that we have some of those thoughts. It's okay that we have these voices of cynicism. It's okay that we have voice of judgment. It's okay that in our hearts we experience some form of hate when we've been hurt or oppressed. It's okay that we have those injurious moments. We are huge collectors of memories. We are those libraries, those emotional chips that make our software certain ways, that coordinate our software if we don't watch it. Because then we're made by those conclusions that we make. It's not the experiences that leave it. It's the conclusions that we make about them and what we make to be true to ourselves that carry itself over. It's the concepts that we hold about life and reality that denies our happiness to surface. It's those things. It's the feelings that we hold in our memory and that we assign certain things when we look and feel. And it's those fears that come up that tell us to go back, shrink, don't do it, avoid, control. It puts us into behavior where we cannot access the real moment of aliveness of our living. It puts us into an alternative mask or an identity that makes us sleepwalk, the amnesia that isn't truly identified with our soul. So we take on roles that kill our souls, untether our souls, so we lose the placeholder of this wonderful wonder child person that we come into the world with. Everything is taken care of. But we are degeniused by life because we pile on all these experiences and conclusions. And our egos are the total sum accumulation of all that. And then the ego gets a bad rep, and we say, oh, the ego. It's just this selfish thing that is in all need of itself. It's a taker. It just is all about us. We're the center of gravity of our universe. I think the ego's just been given a really bad job. We have to fire it and then onboard it for a better job. We need our egos to apprentice changes. We need our egos to show up and focus and execute. We need our egos to do things on behalf of the basic goodness in which we direct ourselves toward the outcomes that we want. Our egos need to be in a different sense of service. But when it becomes just everything we are is limited to the accumulation of where we've been, then all we have to deal with is a past fighting with the present, and that we can't quite get out of the shell or release ourselves from the grasp of these underground kind of chains tied to our legs that the past says, rump! That invisible hand from the underworld comes and gets us because it will pull us down. We're not running from anything. What are we running from? Anxiety? Anxiety is running from nothing. It doesn't downplay anxiety being an issue. I know it is. But if we realize what's really made of, what it's made of, is there anything anatomically that's really real about it? No, it's pure thought-based. It's predictions. We are abreacting early on, preemptively, striking at something that we think is a phantom that's going to get us around the corner. And the only alternative would be mystery, uncertainty. But we attempt with our way of meeting the memory that we have that we need to make ourselves into a sense of certainty. So we have to tell ourselves, warning, 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 you're up at 3 a.m., you better get this right. Don't screw it up. It's always about the future. Or we're depressed about something we did and something we regret. Or we are powerless and we have determined we can't change it. Again, all concepts. It's all thought-based. Theories. The word theory means theater. Theater! Things that are playing out, theatrics in our mind, and we're standing there as the observer. So what are we aware of? The second A is awareness. The observer in us, the unconditional witness, yes, is that behind, the soulful person that sees the content of our personality, our ego, and says, I see my own seeing. I see what I see. I see my filter. I see my bias. I see my projection. I see now. I see clearly now. That is a great thing. To see that we see, to see our own seeing, to see our habituated judgment, to see how it activates a feeling, to see how it activates a behavior, to see the consequences that are unintended, to see the pattern. This is great. But then we have a direct experience. The direct experience of whatever it is that is happening is moving in us because we are not preoccupied with what we're seeing. We're just not involved in seeing in this sort of deceptive way. We're in this directness. Our body and our mind are directly in the moment of experience, being captured by it, inspired by it, moved by it, and all that, because we can access that. It's just our judgment is set aside, our cynicism takes a bleacher's chair, and our fear needs to sit this one out. And those three enemies, being that the future isn't distracting us, the past isn't distracting us. Our opinion or thoughts of ourselves are not online. Currently, they are over there. That's okay. Sit this one out. Whether I think I'm inadequate or not is not relevant. It doesn't matter. The question is, what is worthy in the moment of my attention? What is worthy in the moment of your attention? What's worthy in the moment of your attention is your attention. You can shift the place from which you're attending to what is going on. If you shift the place of attending, you can literally put your hand over your heart and ask your heart, what is being moved right now? What's being touched? What is the experience that you're having? Let's say you're in a gathering of people and your family reunion, and you're standing there, and you're just in awestruck about people you haven't seen in a while, and you're hearing the stories, and all the victories and some difficulties people have moved through, and challenges and diseases they overcame, and family things that they had to work through, and things. There's tremendous meaning in that. But you have to pay attention. Where are you attending from? Are you attending from your heart? Are you attending from your soul? Are you attending from that place where the potential of the moment can meet you? The future is happening every single second. It's not over there. It's not elusive. It's an unfolding dynamic. You see and meet the future into what is worthy of your attention in the moment. That's the future climbing in. That's coming into what has heart and meaning, and what does, you can open it up more. Because that unintegrated moment of integration, of reintegration of matter and mind and information, of coming into contact with life through your experience, is available to you. It is living without reducing living. It is the only moment in which it is valid. And therefore you are in the moment of living. You're living it. What terms are you on with life? What is the inner place from which you're attending? How are you listening? Where is your convivial listening happening? Can you meet this? Can you stay with what's happening? Can you stay long enough to see it a little more? Don't avert your gaze. Can you gradually understand? Can you hold an open understanding without needing to change it? Can you expect nothing and welcome everything? Can you welcome those things? That's a choice. Welcoming is the unintegrated happiness coming to meet what that is at the surface. And that happiness isn't looking for the quality of contentment. It's staying real with the moment of meeting that experience and being accurate about your thinking and being accurate about your feeling of what you think and being accurate about what is trying to happen and meeting emergence, meeting the outer coming into the inner, meeting what is needed of you, meeting what stands in need. It's the enactment of trust, taking meaningful leaps into the uncertainty, leaning in with steadfastness, having that moment of participation, being the participant in life, not the center of gravity, the participant. The poet asks, would you rather be the pilgrim in the ruins or the matchstick in the urinal? Do I want to be seeing those moments in the urinal of piss where I let the lamp go out, or am I the pilgrim, the one who is working with the journey of this moment, who is embracing the moment, because everything the future needs is given to me in this moment, and everything in the past has been given to me to be ready, and I am moved by forces that I pretend to understand? Can I admit that to myself? Can I be certain about my uncertainty? Can I meet the parenthesis of innocence that comes together in every moment? Can I let go of knowing what will happen? Your brain loves it. It loves to speculate. But you have a mind, and the mind, when the brain is quiet, takes its own shape. It moves through you like a peephole, and it comes out and looks. It looks and it observes, and that mind is that place behind the behind in the deep well, the eye behind the eye, that is touched, moved. It is occupied when you see near direct contact with the life that's here. You see, you sense, you feel, and you presense something that wants to come into being. Let life take you by the hand. You participate. You practice this fence-free presence of integration. And you do it over and over and over again. Because rather than analyzing the moment through your concepts, what it should be, ought to be, what it would be, how is it working, and all that, you're just experiencing it. And you're showing up to the originality of your experience. And with that said, that experience presents new things. You will see new things in the ordinary. You will be interested. For me, my biggest fear is losing that interest. Losing that interest to meet life. Losing that interest to be in the manner of living I'm discussing with you. I'm opening up the vista to this possibility. This isn't self-improvement. This isn't self-realization. It's just called showing up. Happiness is showing up. Happiness is the authentic ability to be with life on its terms, live life, let it live you. And I remember the story of the settlers coming down. I remember the Appalachian mountain climbers would come down, and the local people would say, what lived you? What moved you? What changed you? What challenged you? Those were experiences that they were harvesting, that they held those experiences, praised those experiences. And maybe that gratitude could be one form of this chunk of happiness, that gratitude of being grateful for something being given to you is coming into contact with the generosity of the life that's here. And that generosity is life being in the business of delivering life. It will not stop moving. If you hold on to the side of the river and do it your way, you will have debris smack you in the face. Go to the middle of the river. Keep your head up. Be intentional. Make choices. But see what's worthy of your attention in the moment. Pay attention to your attention. Your attention is the greatest property that you own. Where you put your attention is completely up to you. We are in a world that is borrowing our attention by these devices, by marketers, by media. We are being burglarized on an attentional level, and it's the greatest gift we have, and we must come back to paying tribute to the value of our thinking, of our ability to attend, to pay attention to our attention, and to be able to accept life as it is and be aware of the interior content from which we make sense of things. We can't just make sense of things by relying on everything we know. That's okay, but it's limited. If we want to integrate a sense of being happy, it's time to choose to show up. It's time to occupy that kind of direct perception. It's time to be near the proximity of the life that's here, embracing our experience. I think people really want to create experiences. It's not always having an outcome to go to. It's not being attached to the outcome, but being open to the outcome. It's walking in and seeing without criticism and judgment. It's sensing what has heart and meaning in the moment of that which is worthy of our attention. And it is to show up, to meet life, to be here now, and to occupy this continuous access of the highest quality of expression that we can occupy in the moment. That integration, that is happiness, is that continuous access. But positioning ourselves, unblocking our receptivity, allaying those inner enemies, having those direct moments that connect us to our higher sense of self, that connect us to that true sense of purpose and work, of what life is needing of us, what is being asked of us, and then showing up. And then co-creating with that, being bound to it, but being boundless, being willing, but having the willingness, listening, but also activating, adding meaning to it, seeing it, and then bypassing or transcending what doesn't matter anymore into what does. Being moved, being changed, being the participant, being the pilgrim in the ruins, choosing to show up, be there for others, be a great soul, make a difference, living our best lives, and learning to receive life on its own terms. That can you meet it? And what if the future was giving you what you need this moment? What if that were true? How would you hold this moment? How would you play the game? Would you get engaged? Would you be involved? Would you lean forward? Or would you lean back and resist? What would be your positioning? What would you want to be saying to yourself about all this at the end of your life? Do you want to look back and ask yourself if you lived an unlived life? Or would you play all the music in you there is to play? Because I got to tell you, you got a ton of it, more than you ever know. You have a reservoir that is so beyond and so deep, nobody can fathom the expansiveness of your heart. But don't die with the music left in you. Oh no. Oh no, 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 no. Let's not live the unlived life. Let's do this. This is halftime. You're coming out after the second half. You're sensing what has heart and meaning. You're seeing without criticism and judgment. You're ready for a bigger play. You're ready to strip away this. You're confessing to yourself that you're ready for this natural state. You will be known differently. But to be known is to know. Because once you reveal this to yourself, it's interesting. The whole atmosphere changes around you. The way people relate with you. It's like living in a whole different atmosphere. It's like breathing different air. It's like a wet dew just went over everything, a wet dew of love, because you are allowing yourself to appear. It doesn't require permission. It's addition by subtraction. So when you take away some of these inner moments, these inner blockages, the core material, when it's no longer what you're at issue with, because you're not trying to change you or you're assuming that nothing is wrong with you, that's okay. You don't need to project that on the world to try to correct your incorrectness. You're outside your perfectionism. You're in your authenticity. You show up as a whole person. And you can rest in this level of awareness, in this attentiveness, because you don't have to be responsible for it all. You're not responsible for everything that happens to you. You're not responsible for every experience. How dare you put that kind of reckless responsibility on yourself? You're not that powerful. You are here to learn. To learn is to follow nature's pattern. how you pick up on it is by generatively listening. And that pattern that infuses itself with you in combination with the unintegrated part of you that surfaces, that activates, is showing up. And therefore, you live a little bit more dangerous. Yes, you don't take excessive risks, but you live a little more beyond the familiar. You be ecstatic. That ecstatic is that ecstatic. That means to escape the familiar. It means to let your soul catch up with you in the moment by letting it be here, now. The being is in the doing. It's not doing and then bumping into the being. A being without a doing is like a hopeless doer. What's the point? You're wasting your life. Don't live your life spirit in a compromise. So I hope as I speak these things and talk out this reflection that you pull something over to you. I can't force feed you, and these are not advice answers. These are experiences. I'm sharing with you something that's very real in how you're holding life and how life is aware of you and what's given to you. You get to choose. You get to choose to be happy. You get to choose to integrate. You get to choose to show up. You get to choose to see. You get to choose to feel. You get to choose to walk in the enactment of the emerging future. You get to walk hand in hand with the potential of your faith. You get to walk into the mystery with hope as the gift. You get to choose to trust the future that's given to you every moment. You get to choose to know the past has brought you here. You get to choose that you're moved by forces that you pretend to understand. That's an invitation to you. You get to choose. And as you organize your life, your manner of living, it'd be very interesting to hear how that shapes the way that things play out. Because if you attend differently to it, it emerges differently. When you change how you see, what you see changes. When you see from the heart, when you see from the head, when you see from a place that is deeper, when you see from that deeper sense of self, when you see that deeper place of trust, alacrity, that place of movement, without having all the information, when you see without speculation, when you create the future rather than predict the future, you're on a path of fun, discovery. And time changes, because the reason why you're saying time passes so fast is because you have so much experience that it looks the same again and again and again. And when you create something new, when you show up and you see new things in the ordinary, it's because you're seeing with fresh eyes. You're looking again, which is what respect means. And you're voicing what your authentic voice is giving you about what you're touched by, moved by, changed by, inspired by, amazed by, all that, challenged by. You're learning how to hold power. You're learning how to hold potency. You're giving it away. It is intention with profound humility. Humility of the earth, humility. Courage is to come from the heart. Core is to be courageous, a little more dangerous of leaning into the mystery. Paying attention to what is worthy of your attention. Seeing what has heart and meaning. Notice what you notice. If you're seeing beauty, it's because you're holding that kind of attention in the world. You're accepting the life that's here. You're aware of what your interior thoughts are giving you. You're aware of what externally is coming into focus. You are attending from a place that can receive that, be moved by it, integrate what we're discussing. And you can put your attention where you want. These are gifts. These are your instruments. This is your equipment. Acceptance, awareness, attending, attention. So this is a great point. It's a wonderful way for you to be generous also to others, because the world needs you to be happy. The more that you're accessing these things, the more you glow. And that which is personal becomes universal. The more that you're involved in creating things that matter, in noticing things that matter, organizing your life around what matters to you. It's very attractive. And that you attract people because energy follows attention as those people climb onto you. Because they're occupying the same soundtrack. They hear the same soundbite like a dog whistle. They're in that mode. And nothing less. So I hope this was timely for you. That this was something I needed to bend your ear on. And I appreciate the time together. And I hope that what I reached for in you is something that reached deep. Deep, deep, deep enough to get that fundamental part of you. That predominant creative force in your life. that ability to be true to yourself, to show up and lead your life with your unique ability and gifts out front, and to be able to occupy this continuous access every moment. I hope that it made you appear, and that these appearances, this conversation that caused you to appear, is a new beginning. It's transcendent for you. It's transcendent by the community. It's transcendent by the other, seeing the other. People are people because of other people. It's transcendent because this pattern of interaction that we're having is giving rise to a truth, a true property within you, to be seen and to go out and see, and to be seen and go out and see. I thank you for this time and this opportunity to speak with you today. Thank you.